I, to this day, lie to myself 24/7 and tell myself I'm broke. I don't look at a bank account or whatever. If I don't have a deal going or whatever, I'm not going to be able to eat next week. I'm hungry. There's so many people out there, especially in the younger generation, that have a vision. But if you don't take action with that vision, how are you going to ever succeed?
Welcome to Inner Pump, where we help driven individuals get the most out of life and build the inner mastery to drive growth, confidence, discipline, and mental fortitude, where overcoming adversity means doing the things you know you should do. Real topics, real people, real business. I'm your host, Ajee. Let's get it. This is Inner Pump.
Let's get it. New week, baby, new week.
That's the first thing she said when she came in.
Literally. Well, we got a special guest here today. Matt, do the honors, man.
Yeah, I think this is the guest that I've known for the longest.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Or dreaded the most.
It just depends on how the next hour goes.
It's all on you, baby.
Oh, you're getting exposed today, Matt.
We are going to get it.
Oh, wow.
Hey, 2 on 1, B.
Man.
Whose side are you on, B?
Neutral. Here we go.
Go ahead, Matt.
All right.
Matt.
We got Mama C in the house.
Let's
Laura
go.
Lee, double L,
Let's go.
the one and only.
Yeah, LL,
That's
as I
right.
like to call her.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I am feeling fine. Thank you. How are you feeling?
I like the chains. Hey, for all y'all listening, y'all need to watch this episode right now. Mama C, aka LL, is shining in the building, baby.
Can't even see the shoes, but she's rocking.
Got
it.
the Louis on for
there we
Louis.
go.
Oh my
There we
god!
go.
Hey, stud,
But
man.
wait,
okay.
that's some people ask. Nobody knows that, so she calls me Louis.
I do.
I didn't know that.
And not a lot of people know. I was trying to explain this to somebody. I don't explain it as well as.
The reason why I call you Louis is because you were such a stud at every sport that you ever played, and everybody would yell, Matthew, Matthew, or then Matt. And you couldn't hear me, and I'm pretty loud. And so I wanted to make sure that he could hear me. And when he was very, very little, he was called Chewy Louie. I don't know why.
It was because my brother couldn't say
Mac. That's right. Mac called you Chewy instead of
because he would say Matt
Chew.
Chew. Yeah.
And then you were Chewy, and then you became Chewy Louie. But the Louie thing was because of Louis Vuitton. Because I have an obsession, and so I would yell, "Go Louie, go!" and I still call you Louie. And when I would scream it, no one else. There were no other Louis.
You can always hear your parents' voice. You probably get that. Ever be same thing. I mean, you just know your parents' voice in the stands. But I knew, and people were always confused because if they knew my mom's voice, they're like, what the hell's Louis? But they would hear
Who is
that,
Louis?
especially in basketball, like more intimate,
Right.
gyms and stuff
Right.
that you could actually
Right.
hear somebody. That's anyway.
Oh yeah, I don't want to go into those basketball stories where you could hear your parents.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. That was the worst. Well, let's get into the episode, man. First question on the boards. You know what? I actually like doing this. I actually like starting from childhood and learning about who you are, and then we can get into the business aspect because the audience doesn't know, Matt, but your mom is a stud.
She is.
She is. She's a stud at what she does, man. So we'll get into the business aspect later, but I do want to get to know you, and I want the audience to get to know you because I feel like we know a little bit of you through this guy. So So we like to, he talks about you a lot. a lot. So how was your upbringing, and how did that influence how you raised Matt?
I think the most important thing when you find out you're pregnant, in my case, is fear hits first. And then, because mine was an oops, both of mine were oopses. I was never going to have children. I was going to have a Ferrari.
Was it going to be named Louis?
Don't laugh. On the license plate. But I realized that for me, the roadmap, and this is no disrespect to my parents, but the roadmap was that I was going to be a parent to the child that didn't get what I needed. And so a lot of my world is reverse psychology. It always has been. And so I knew I was raised in a family that never said, I love you. It just wasn't said. It's not that I was deprived, but it was just not anything that was ever said. So Matthew will tell you, I'm obsessive over that. He hears it all the time from little up. I mean, we don't close a conversation or anything without that. So it's literally getting in touch with the child that you are, and then that's how you learn how to parent. I was the oldest of three. I was left on my own to pretty much raise myself. And that's a powerful thing. But it's difficult when you move a lot, and we moved a great deal. And so I was the new kid a lot. And I had to recreate myself and be a chameleon as a result of that. So tap dancing, I learned how to tap dance early on, and be comfortable in almost any setting, and really not intimidated or scared by much of anything. But I also didn't have boundaries, and I got into a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Matt, how was that like, man, growing up and just always having that love all around?
I think what I always remember, definitely unconditional belief in love is what I still have, or what she still gives to my brother and I. But there's a lot of toughness that came from that. It was almost like, because she's so consistent with the love, it gives her the ability to say whatever she wants, and to be very direct and very tough. And it's absorbed in the right way because of how consistent everything else is. So it's almost like you earn, as at least I felt, she, not just because she's my mom, but she put in so much work and so much thought and sacrificed so much to be present in everything and be so involved, that she earned the right to have very difficult conversations with my brother and I, to push us to be uncomfortable, do things we absolutely did not want to do, to work on that muscle.
So you were the tough one?
Oh my, yes. Mark is Mark is the playmate. And I think that really works in any relationship at all with a mom and a dad. One needs to be this is it, this is the line, cross this line, and I'm gonna hurt you. Or the other one is, come to me, let's go play, let's go watch a game. Yeah, I did. So, that's the way it was.
Did you take a little bit of that, what you didn't get from your parents? Not what you didn't get, but those, because I'm sure they were tough on you as well, were they?
No, they ignored me.
Oh, they ignored you.
So and sometimes that's even worse than the tough. I think I got into so much trouble because I was looking for that attention. And I knew that raising two boys, two men, that my first job was to raise really good men. And I think overriding that was to make sure that they were compassionate and kind and caring and honest and respectful. And they were noticed and they were valued. So that all goes along with, again, what I didn't get. And again, both my parents are gone. It's no disrespect to them. It's just that I think, and Matthew will do the same thing when he's a parent. Whatever it is he didn't get or he does differently, he might not spank his son or daughter. I spanked him.
Amen. And look how he turned out. I say it all the time. My dad and my mom whooped me, and look how I turned out. So.
Yeah, I was told by a very wise woman very early on, mom of 4 kids, single mom, that especially raising boys, if you didn't get their respect by the time they were 3 years old, you were never going to get it, and they were going to be way bigger than you. And I see that in so many families and so many moms that I know. And with Matthew's friends or Mac's friends, his brother's friends, there was always a level of respect, and there still is, with the way that they talk to me and they treat me, because I love them. But I also respect them, and I expect that in return.
Was there any defining moments in your life that shaped who you are today? I would say before you had Matt.
Oh my, there are many. I'm 63 years old, so honey, I don't know where we start. A defining moment was learning that getting caught lying or getting caught stealing as a young kid, stealing paper boy money, doing stupid stuff like that, getting caught wasn't good. I learned by doing. I learned visually. And so for me, the school of hard knocks, just boom. Getting caught or suffering consequences of getting in trouble just wasn't a good idea. And I also learned that you can't run from who you are. Even as being the new kid all the time and being a chameleon or recreating yourself, you are who you are. There's something inside of you that you can't change. You can only refine, embrace, love, respect, and grow. So
let's say deeper on that, though, about defining who you are, because I see many people, they try to are not defining, but they try to change who they are all the time. What advice would you give them?
Love who you are. I'm a big proponent. I love taking a big yellow notepad, and putting a line on it, positives and negatives. I write, and that's how I learn about situations, or I plan, always have. And for me, in some of my hardest times, I would sit and literally write down positives and negatives about an action that I was going to take or something that had happened to me at a certain time. And that was my roadmap, and that would help me get a grip on how to proceed. So I do a lot by the seat of my pants, and I do a lot instinctually. I'm a spiritual person, and I am very in tune with what's around. You know, we talk about head in a swivel. I'm always aware, but that writing down and making it real, and going, ooh, you suck there. You can't do that anymore. No more. Really helps me to just visually put it in my head, and then I can recall it. You guys talk about the inner voice, and that dialogue is so powerful. So if you could just flip it and just say, oh yeah, no, that's erasing. I'm erasing that. I'm not going there anymore. That's not who I am. That becomes a very, very important thing.
Man, we're only, 10 minutes into the podcast, and you could see, imagine having this growing up. Man, Matt, you are blessed, bro. You are blessed.
Poor baby.
We talk about this all the time on our podcast, so it's just most of the guests that we have in here, they always talk about the strong parents that they have or the strong mentors they have. And Matt,
no stronger.
10 minutes in, and look at this, bro.
Talk about some of the other challenges you had growing up, getting in trouble in high school.
Yeah, because it seemed like
cards.
she was a troublemaker.
Well, I think,
I think people don't know that about how you grew up because they see the success and they don't realize it.
I was just introduced to a young man that's only 8 years old recently that has the ADHD, ADD labels. When I was growing up, there was a drug called Ritalin, and it was something that my mother was told to put me on in first grade. Thank you, baby Jesus, she didn't do it. And it forced me to adapt. It forced me to overcome the issues that I had in learning. It was a really important thing. So I did not do well at school. I do not do well at studying. I was the person that would study the night before because I learned to memorize, not study. That's the way my brain works. So school was never my friend. It was a social thing for me. And I learned early on that I could buy the correct IBM back then printer paper and forge my report cards. And I did that from 8th grade to 12th. I was a bad girl when it came to that. But I never did drugs or anything like that. I just got in trouble the other way. But that was all to cover up that I had ADD or ADHD or whatever that is, and just could not adapt to school. I wanted to be an architect. I just really did, but I knew. I mean, there was no way college was for me. No amount of money, no nothing was going to get me through 5 extra years of school. So I started to go to work early.
So you didn't go to college?
I did not, no.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no. I started to work at 14 years old with a gentleman named Les Wexner that started the Limited Corporation and the very first Limited store in Columbus, Ohio. And he told me about a month in, first of all, I lied about my age. I said I was 16 or 15 and a half, and I was 14. And it was not hard to do back then because they didn't really check anything, and I always looked older. And he looked at me about, early on and said, you will never be an employee. You do not have an employee's mentality. You need to go own your own business. And this is a really pretty powerful dude. And I'm a kid. I'm like, well, can I just go out there and sell clothes? He said, okay. And so he taught me salesmanship. He taught me how to run a sales floor, how to deal with people, how to always greet people no matter what, make them feel known, make them feel present, and to listen. And that's in a retail store for clothing for teenagers. And then I learned how to manage people starting at 16 through him.
So you learned how to listen at your entry-level job.
Yes.
How did that impact who you are today?
The little voice in the head. When I'm speaking too much, or my ADHD or whatever you want to call it is having me interrupt a conversation or just blather on, that little voice is there, and it's his voice saying, shh, listen, stop talking. It's still there. Still there after all of these years. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. But that's how powerful and impactful you can be. And I try to be now in mentoring younger people. Some of our younger agents or people that are coming around. I know how important it is to have a mentor. My mentor is 89 years old now. but I know how important it is and how big that voice is in someone's head when you're speaking to them. You know, it can be hurtful, but it's important.
So before we go into mentorship, I want to give everybody context. So my mom has been doing real estate for 40 plus years. Her family moved from Columbus, Ohio to Scottsdale, Phoenix area when she was 18.
17, senior year of high school.
Which is tough, especially when you don't go to college. So she had to recreate a life there and decided going to work was the right thing. She bounced around a couple different real estate firms, agencies, and then in 2016 was part of a group that co-founded a real estate firm brokerage called Launch. And Launch was acquired by Compass earlier this year and Launch is now over 300 agents. And so my mom's career was built up through the years, through mentorship, through doing great work, to the point where really successful people got together and said, let's build something.
With no ego.
And to have 300 agents stick around, and I want to get into the community aspect of Launch and what's made y'all different and retention and all those good things, but I wanted to level set there for everybody because I want to go back to retail job. Why real estate? When did you know
I wanted a BMW. Literally, I wanted a BMW. Hand to God, I wanted a BMW. I wasn't going to college, and my father said, go get your real estate license. Just turned 18, 17 and a half. And it was 3 weeks of my time, and he offered to pay for it. Okay. And then he tried to sweeten the deal and said, I'll buy you a 4-door Bonneville. Oh, my God. It was just awful. But it was a good real estate car. Like, all right, we did that. I wanted a BMW. So I had to pay him back for the car. I had to pay him back for the school. I had to pay him back for living expenses for that month. And I sold at full price my very first open house. And this is really the power of strength of your mind. So 18% mortgage rates. Everybody's complaining.
18%.
Everybody's complaining today about 8%, right? 18% mortgage rate.
Oh my gosh.
$124,900 back in 1979, I think, was a lot of money. And it was a condo in Paradise Valley or a townhouse. And I'm sitting there, my first open house, offices down the street, signs are up, and I've never written a contract. I don't even have a contract. There's nobody to call. There's no cell phones. I mean, this is all by hand. In walks this teeny tiny cute little couple with white hair. And they look at it, and they sit down with their canes, and they said, how much is the home? And I said, $124,900. And they said, well, how much will they take? And I said, $124,900, because I had been told that that's what we did, $124,900. That was the price. They said, okay, we'll take it. And we're going to pay cash. Oh, my God. I literally left the place unlocked. I shoved the signs down. I go, follow me. In my Bonneville. Off we went down the street to the office, ran in, and I'm screaming because they're old. They're way behind me, right? I'm screaming, going, somebody help me, please. Thank God my manager was there. She didn't believe me because there were no sales happening right then. Here they are walking in, and we sat down, wrote out the contract. They paid cash. They closed in 2 weeks. And I'm at this point thinking real estate's really easy. But it's mindset. Like, I'm convinced real estate's easy. I got my BMW off of that deal. It's easy. This is easy. Their names were the Scutts, and they were the owner of Mutual of Omaha. And they were the kindest, nicest people in the world. They had to have known that I had never owned real estate at that point in time. I didn't know what I was doing. But I was faking it, baby. I was doing exactly what I was told to do, and I believed that I could do it. I saw it, I felt it, I could taste it, and I had a want.
Oh, my gosh. Let's get deeper. Let's go deeper into that belief, though. Where did that belief come from? Because you didn't do well in school, high school. You're just getting out of high school. You just make this first big sale. Where did that belief come from?
I never looked at it that I didn't do well in school. I didn't ever even look at it that I failed at it. I looked at it as though it just wasn't for me.
I like that.
And so failure's just not something that I relate to. I failed many times, but they've been stepping stones to something greater. I've learned from those. I've fallen on my faces. I've lost deals. There's no question about failure that I embrace it. But school wasn't that way because I think I instinctively just knew that it wasn't for me. I just didn't do well at it. As far as sales go, I didn't really look at this as sales. I looked at it as something I was passionate about. The passion then is different than it is now. The passion then was monetary. So what flipped a switch and made me long-term successful is I took another mentor of mine, my current mentor for the last 30 years, told me never, ever, ever look at your paycheck when you are working on a deal. Never, ever, ever look at how much money you've made for the year, ever. Because it's about the person in real estate. It's about the home. It's not about the paycheck, the percentages, the commission. So when I started, it was about the money because that was my need. That was my nut. Now it's always about the home.
No, I mean, I've seen her. She used to make us sit at open houses for her while she was doing other things, or even when she was there.
I paid you $5.
Yeah, but what I was going to compliment you. Now I might not. What her tone is that the key. She doesn't go in. She always used to say, "Don't go in wanting the sale. Go in wanting the customer, the buyer, to make the right choice." Mm-hmm. And I think it's her approach and tone that the intent, the passion behind her recommendations, because she's very pushy. Buyers and her clients recognize the intent is really good, and it isn't monetary. Mm. And that's what I've learned watching her in her craft over the years is there's a lot of passion, but it's the delivery. And I don't think you can fake that.
No, I feel you.
No.
I mean, you're on something else too. You're on beliefs and values. What beliefs and values did you find? Oh, we're good. And faith. And faith. I love it.
But what's the other one? It's the dagger.
The dagger?
I protect.
Oh.
So I have faith.
She's showing us her necklaces, guys.
I have faith,
who's
but
listening.
I protect. It's a dagger.
I
so
like
there's
that.
protection and there's faith. So I am a helper, but I'm a protector more than anything else. And I really try and look at everything that I do, especially in sales, from that standpoint. My clients don't lose money on real estate. We just don't do it. So I always respect that it's an investment, but it's also their home. Mm-hmm. So good advice, protecting.
I like that. But what values and beliefs did you think were important to instill in Matt and his brother when they were growing up?
First and foremost was respect for their father. Hands down, no matter what, good day, bad day, human, they respect their father no matter what. I knew that I could instill in them respect for me because that's me, right? I'm mom. But they had to respect dad no matter what. And from that respect, because we always had love, but from that foundation, then it was, our motto's very simple in our house. We work, always. We're workers, that's what we do. And we never quit. Do not quit.
Love that.
So if you have respect and you have love and you work, because there's no trust fund, there's nobody taking care of us, we work, and you always, always are honest. I mean, I'm looking into his eyes because he's succeeded. I mean, I'm so proud of him, I can't even stand it. Man. And I never tell him that. I really don't. From the time the boys were little, they were both very attractive, and people would come up and touch their hair and talk to them, and I'd like smack their hands away because I didn't want to raise Ken dolls. I didn't want them to be those boys that were told they were pretty. It just was an irritant with me. I wanted them to be men and be strong men. If they were pretty, that was fine too. And of course, then we dressed them up nicely and made them look pretty, but we didn't tell them they were pretty. But I wanted them to be these really good men, and especially for their women. And they are, both of them.
No, this is a stand-up guy right here to the left of me.
I don't have a choice.
He doesn't have a choice. He will always do what he says he will do, and he will apologize if he falls short. And boy, is that a gift.
Man, I could already see who you are now.
I think there's just power. Like we said, I people think I'm crazy, but I literally didn't have a choice. Like there's a lot of tough conversations, but
Mom,
I was scared.
can't do this. Mom, I'm in
didn't want to
snow.
disappoint her.
Mom, I can't do it. My umbrella just blew upside down. It's a snowstorm. I have 104-degree temperature, and the pharmacy's closed, and I'm standing out in front of the pharmacy. And this poor kid, I felt terrible. I wanted to hop a plane and go help him. Instead, I said, suck it up, Buttercup. Get your ass back home into the dorm. Get under the covers, drink some water, call me when you get there. Because, he didn't need...
But see what I mean? She was very tough and very real, but she was always there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And every time I would these calls are sometimes like crazy times. Like she's always there, right? You've heard of moms that wait up for their sons to get home. Like that was her. She's always there. Always us first. So it's you earn the right to have those tough conversations. And that's what I've looked for in a wife. Because the standard's so high, I expect that, right? Like I want a partner, but I want to prioritize my kids and to be able to earn those tough conversations. And I think if just by being a parent, you can earn those, but it hits differently when you're really there. Like she could say "suck it up," but she answered the phone.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you talk a lot about how your mom basically was the reason why you stayed in college.
She's the reason I played football.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. You have to understand.
I mean, it's a crazy story.
Football is something, college football, that's really, really huge to me. I grew up with Woody Hayes, and
Ohio State.
I love college football. I grew up in the day where all the players were always around, and we're bobbing for apples together. And Woody Hayes started the Pay It Back and Pay It Forward. And going to the Children's Hospital before every single game on Saturday. We'd all walk across the fields to the game, the whole team with a coach. I mean, so I grew up in that environment. It was really, you were held accountable, but it was fun, right? And so here I have two boys. I want them to play football. And the oldest one was just not having any of it at about sophomore. Yeah, he just decided not to show up anymore to practice. Oh, yeah, that didn't go over real well. We had a breakdown conversation in the middle of the parking lot about that and outlined what his future would be if he quit. He didn't quit. He showed up the next day, and he played all the way through. Well, I create a visual of what's going to happen if you make this choice. I always wanted the boys to feel as though they had a choice. They really didn't, but to let them think they did. But this was what it was going to look like if you went down that road. With Matthew, he had a hard road. Remember, he went to school playing D1 football at 17 years old. And from playing at 118 degrees in full pads on turf, where we couldn't get enough watermelon and fluids into these boys because it was so hot, to going and playing in winter. He hates winter. He hates cold.
Oh yeah, I asked him to come snowboarding with me all the time. He's like, bro, you already know. I'm not going with you.
It's 70 degrees and he's got long sleeves on under everything. It was hard. So he also had many people, and in the Ivy League, that seems to be something that, I'm already in, so I only have to play a year and then I can move on. He doesn't have quit in him. So no matter what he says, it wasn't me, it was him. He wasn't going to quit. He's got pride.
Because you instilled that at a very young age.
He's got pride.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a choice, right? But every time I would bring it up to my mom or my dad, they would create that visual of like, did you make the commitment to play football there for 4 years? And if you ask questions, there's power in asking somebody a question. And guess what the answer was? Yes, I did commit to playing 4 years of football there.
Bro.
And then she would say, well, what are you going to do then?
On your 10-year reunion, what's going to happen? You're going to show up and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, you're the dude that
That's
quit.
the quitter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you quickly
not my
go,
family.
nope.
But look at how she draws the lines of you go this route or you go this route. Which route do you want to take?
Well, we called that the easy way or the hard way growing up.
Ooh.
That was always my world. And I still do that with agents. We have an easy way and we have a hard way. It's your choice.
That is so powerful.
It's your choice.
Even something I could just start applying to my life right now. Whatever choice I make, okay, if I do this,
There's
if I do
always
this action,
an easy way.
Yes. If I do this action, what's the easy way? What's the hard way? What's the easy way going to get me versus what's the hard way going to get me? That is powerful.
And it's not saying that shortcuts don't have value, because there are shortcuts in life that do have value. Some people think that that's the easy way, and it's not. Sometimes you can tap dance a little bit and take those shortcuts, but you always got to pay the piper.
Man, And you had this framework at a young age, right?
Well,
You
I
were
think
just-
you don't have the perspective until you have more reps of it, right? But I think that's what a lot of people that are listening need to understand is this is not something that you naturally do. You need somebody to mentor. You need somebody to show you the way to go. No, you don't just wake up and say, I'm going to go the hard way all the time. Somebody has to be there to tell you it's going to be worth it. Somebody has to be there. That's why having a mentor, having a mom, having a dad that's going to say that to you is critical. Question I've wanted to ask you, and I haven't ever,
No, boy.
specifically, is I've always felt that you've had a chip on your shoulder forever.
Day one. Always will.
And I get this because I'm the same way. I'll create a story. I'll do something.
that's not even real.
Sometimes it's.
I think a lot of it is.
Where does that chip for you come from? Is it always one thing, or how often does it change?
If you saw Ryan Day's speech that he gave about being from Ohio and how we're always discounted, that's where it starts. So coming from Ohio, round on the ends, high in the middle, always number 2. You just had that drilled into you. Always had to work harder. That was just like an Ohio motto. I can't explain it. I, to this day, lie to myself 24/7 and tell myself I'm broke because I operate so much better when I'm hungry. I always have. So it's the voice in the head.
Hold on. Did y'all just hear that?
No,
I'm sorry for cutting you off. That
you're
one
fine.
is so good.
No,
Just keep going,
no, you're
please.
fine.
Keep going.
But I do. I have that dialogue that I don't look at a bank account or whatever. If I don't have a deal going or whatever, I'm not going to be able to eat next week. I'm hungry. And so that's what motivates me. I also, and it's not a confidence thing, and it's not an imposter thing, but I never, ever allow myself to believe the press or to believe that I'm good or better than anybody else. And I was mentioning to Matthew, I love the new technology, and I constantly try to feed my brain with it. And on the Chat GPT, I ask it to identify and define, call out my 3 top competitors, and then tell me what they do that they do better than I do. And it was astounding. But it also reinforced that little voice in my head, you're not good enough, baby. You better work harder.
So then how did you override that at that time?
How did
Just
I?
by having to put in more work?
Yeah, showed me a roadmap. Told me one of them's doing more social media. One of them reaches out to their clients on an hourly basis and talks about that. One of them's much younger than I am and in touch with a much younger clientele that happened to be has a bigger purchasing power. So by identifying that with the use of AI, of all things, I now know that I'm not as good. And maybe recent press has said, oh boy, she's something. Well, I ain't something.
You know how much courage that takes, Matt, to actually look and see what you need to work on? Because so many people don't want to look at the things that they need to actually work on.
Then you might as well retire from life. I mean, honestly, you just might as well give up because, we were talking about this earlier. There's so many people out there, especially in a younger generation, that have a vision. They're big on visions. Everything's a vision board, a vision, a vision, a vision.
Yes.
But if you don't take action with that vision, how are you going to ever succeed?
Oof,
Honestly, how? You have to be able to take action, and I can't take action if I don't have it written down.
Oh, Matt. See, y'all, I even see Brandon. You just been hitting so many good points. If you guys are listening right now, Brandon just keeps going, oh my God, like this is good.
Well, this is how she lives. This is why you don't have a choice. And anytime she's the first person I call, right? And it's always, there's never any excuse. I can't make an excuse for anything. And also, you have to, if you watch her work, it's insane. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Give us a little, how does she work, Matt? Just from seeing it from a bird's eye view.
Well, I just think she'll do anything for her customers. She really cares. She's protective. If you're in her circle, she will defend. I mean, she is ruthless with people in her very small circle. So loyalty's always been really important to her. Even if my brother and I had disagreements, and we did, as brothers do, it was never like you just have each other. That's it. You never are not going to be able to like each other. Or excuse me, distance from each other. You have no choice. I
love that.
So just drawing boundaries. She's very direct. But she's also she could be intimidating to people. And so you have to be willing to. What am I going to do? Look at her and tell her I didn't I didn't accomplish what I was, supposed to
said you're
do.
gonna do, yeah.
It's because I didn't put in the work.
There you go.
It's okay to, I went 5 and 35 in college, but I did the work, right? And so I never wanted to let her or my dad down. Mm-hmm. And I still don't, because I just watched them do what they do.
Yeah.
My mom didn't go to college. My dad paid his way through 7 years at Arizona State. They both still work their butts off.
You saw work all day.
It's all that I know. So I had the easy part. They had the hard part, which was setting the standard.
Well, let's go back to this work. So is there anything, looking back on your life now, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Oh, I'd ask for help.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I would have been more humble and asked for help. I think I would have been a little bit more in touch with what I needed as opposed to what I wanted. I tend to not look in the past. I live in the moment, in the day. I'm not good at planning for the future, but I can see into the future, if that makes sense. But I really I wake up every morning positive, every morning, and grateful. I always have. I've tried very hard to do that. We had a rule in our house that no arguments in the morning. I wanted peace and quiet to start the day. It's just a really important thing to me. But I think I would have asked for help when the children were younger. We didn't have a nanny, and we both worked a lot.
Wow.
And we struggled, and we jumbled, and we took them with us places, and we did whatever we could do. We just made it work. But I could have asked for help, but I didn't. In a lot of areas. So I think that's just age and learning. But, I just have this thing in my head that I should be able to achieve it.
That's a genetic thing that I unfortunately have now.
Uh-huh.
Was that ego? Was that more ego? Though?
No.
I-
It's a complete belief that I can do it.
So why need a...
But looking back on it, I realized I could have done more if I would have asked for help.
That part.
And so that's the lesson, is that if I can help Matthew with anything, is that, just learn how to ask for help, because you will create.
And it's my biggest challenge.
It's crazy too, because we always hear that these people that we listen to, Matt, they always say, man, I would love to help people. I would love to mentor people, because that's like they get more fulfillment from helping others. And it's so crazy that we're always scared to ask other people for help. Why is that? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
And I don't think it's scared. I honestly don't, honey. I think it's just.
You don't want to.
It's it. What was it? Deion Sanders was just talking about something that he loves the process. He loves the process, and he doesn't really want to share it with anybody. Like, he's passionate about the process. Mm-hmm. And I think back on that, and I'm like, that's it.
I also don't want, I have this weird thing. I don't want people to catch up. It's like if I just keep going, I don't want to pause to ask for help, because I don't want somebody to catch up.
Because I know they're nipping on my heel.
Yeah, and they want to. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this, Ajee. Business is my sport.
Literally.
Like, real estate is her sport. I love it. I love it. I'm going to work at it. I do not think that it's work a lot of times.
Fearless. It's not work.
That's why we're
fearless.
always like, I get crap all the time. Why are you working on Saturdays and Sundays? I don't even define it. Like, I like it.
Yeah.
Give me like a massive cold brew or Celsius and a massive problem on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm in.
You're
that's fun
it.
for me.
I
want to separate myself in those moments, because that's what fires me up.
It's funny, bro, you're saying that, because I'm the same way.
She's the same way. That's where I got it.
But when you have a kid, something changes slightly. Did something change slightly with Matt?
They learned to come along. They learned to adapt. I mean, the one thing I will tell you that changed is that I did not advertise what I did for a living for a long period of time. Because when I was at the t-ball games, the baseball games, the football games, I didn't want to be Laura Lee the realtor. I didn't want to talk about real estate. When Matthew was pitching and Mac was catching, and it's a huge game in t-ball or whatever, Little League, and Mark's coaching, I didn't want to miss that moment. And I had 3 women sitting there wanting to talk to me about their houses. And I'm like, I went up to the stands at the top. So I had to learn to build a bubble around myself. That's what changed a little bit. But I mean, I work 7 days a week, happily. Mm-hmm. It is a passion. I enjoy what I do. So
She always says she's never retiring.
No, gosh, no.
That's actually, but
Why would I?
statistically proven, you'll live longer if you don't retire.
Why would I? If you rest, you rest.
Look, yes, I agree.
Why?
I agree.
Yeah.
But I just brought that up because I just had a baby, and something I love to work all the time, but then something's like, okay, I gotta spend just a little bit of time with him because he's only gonna be this age once. He's only going to be crawling for such amount of time.
So I learned to work at 4 a.m. I learned to
That's
work
that
at
part,
different times. I only need 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. It's a genetic thing. My
She's
mom was the
savage.
same way.
Same.
And so I would learn to do things when the kids were down. One of our kids napped a lot, the other one didn't. And so you just learn to juggle. But again, I carried them like footballs. I didn't believe in strollers. I didn't believe in high chairs. They learned to eat with, forks and knives and everything at an early age. We made them little men, and they just adapted and went along with us.
I love that. We hear a lot about presence, right?
Yeah.
And right now, a big thing that's going on in society is fatherlessness. How did you make sure that you were present within the times that you were raising your boys? Because that's a big thing, because you could still be there, but that doesn't mean you're present.
I do not know how anyone ever raises a child by themselves after raising 2 with Mark. I can only speak to what it's like to raise children with a husband and a wife. And I can tell you, raising young men, if it was just me, they wouldn't be the same men that they are. You have to have a mom and a dad for our family unit. It was really important to have that balance. And then that allowed me to be present. And it allowed me to go to Target if I had to, just to get out of the house and not think about anybody or anything, So having that handoff was a really big deal and allowed me to be present. I don't know how single parents do it. I really don't.
Right, yeah. Matt, let's get into business stuff now. Like more business.
Yeah. One more thing before we get into this is business related, but one thing you taught me that I think is really interesting for people to listen to is my mom's big on really nice things. She has expensive taste.
I'm bougie, baby. Right?
She likes, but she will only. She has to work for it. She's big on setting goals, and when you win, she takes care of herself or those around her. But she was always big on, as a parent, stretching as much as they could financially to put us around successful people.
Yes.
Stretched a lot to put us in the right public school so that we could be around success. And understanding that, I think, took a huge... Because there's a lot of people... I know Dad has since said, gosh, I wouldn't have done that, and wow, what an impact that made. Did you just take a leap of faith there? How did you know how important those kind of things were?
I'm going to try to shorten this answer as much as I can. My mother was a depression baby and watched her real father, her birth father, push her birth mother down the stairs. So she was raised by her mom's sister, and dirt poor, just dirt poor. Like their big meal to eat, and I only know this because she'd make us eat it so we'd understand, was scrambled eggs and macaroni with a lot of pepper. Ugh. That was the thing. My father was raised in a very wealthy family that owned like the town. So when my father saw my mother drive by in a convertible Bonneville of all things. This is back in the day where you could find out a name and an address from the license plate. So he found out her address. 6 weeks later, they were married. 9 months to the day I was born. So here I have a parent, one that comes from a lot of money and one that has worked her way through college. She was 4 years older than my father, paid her own way, and scrunches nickels together. I knew I didn't want that life. I knew I wanted the other life. And that's just where it was. So my grandmother, my father's mother, sent me to charm school. I failed on purpose because I just couldn't do it. I wouldn't wear hose. I couldn't do it. So she considered me a failure from that standpoint. But I did meet a lot of very wealthy people. And I realized that there was a certain lifestyle that I was going to figure out how to get. So that's how it was. When I met Mark, Mark came from a very strong working class background, great family values, lived in a part of town that I didn't want to live in. And so we moved. And then we just kept pushing it. But I knew my sales pitch to him was that if we moved into this particular neighborhood, which at that time was a $500,000 house, we were moving from a $100,000 house.
Wow, that's a big
This is
jump.
32 years ago. And he was just appalled that we would ever spend that much money. But we wouldn't put the kids in private school then. We could go into the public school, and that saved us $1,500 a month, and that could go to the mortgage. crafty girl. And it worked. And so the reality was that I wanted the boys to be raised in an environment where no man, no money would ever intimidate them in any way, shape, or form. Second grade, Matthew comes home. We're in an adorable little ranch-style home. And he goes, Mom, are we poor? I'm like, what? What? We're good, right? He goes, no. Connor has 8 bathrooms. I'm like, dude, we're fine. We have 3 bathrooms. It's okay. They just happen to have more than we do. It's good. But so we always lived lower than other people around us, but always in the boundary within. So I always wanted them to be hungry. I never wanted them to be fat.
She always wanted us to be the little house in the big street.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, we talk.
Which
We get
is
a lot.
what
Bro, we
we
get a
are
lot
now.
about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, in our neighborhood, for real. But we talk a lot about this, Matt, is just about seeing things young, seeing the big houses, seeing the nice cars.
Well, that's where I was getting at. Is she wanted me to feel what it was like to be wealthy before being wealthy.
Yes, exactly.
And to be able to act like that, go to a nice place for 3 hours, work from a really nice hotel if you have to for an hour, because then you can feel. And there's a powerful thing about being around that. You start to think, the wheels start to turn. How do I get there?
That's right. How do I get
That's
it?
the key. And it wasn't, hate on those people for having it. It was
Correct.
figure out a path to get there.
Yep, and work your ass off.
And that was the attachment. That's the most important thing. And I still do that. Like I'll buy something nice because I'm basically visualizing what it's like to be that and empower that and give myself no choice but to do that.
Just like that Bronco we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I want it.
I
And I'm
know.
going to get it
I
at some
know.
point.
I know.
Is it lifted? Is it lifted?
It's one of
yeah.
those. It's
Oh,
one
yeah.
of those like vintage Broncos.
Updated, lifted.
Yeah, it's nice.
Oh, yeah.
Just make sure you got some air in there, bro. We're good.
But that's a unique thing that she did is surrounded us by always having. It's equivalent of stretch goals, right?
Oh.
Having those, seeing those, feeling those, and realizing, okay, now I got to. If I want that, what do I have to do? And I have to bust my ass.
All right, so we have a little bit of time left. I do want to ask some questions about this guy. He just started commit. How do you feel about that?
We're kind of competitive in our house, right? Yeah, we're kind of competitive, and so he started his company, so I started another company too. He's got a podcast. I'm starting a podcast.
Let's go.
So it's kind of fun when the roles reverse and your child is challenging you, makes me better, bigger, stronger.
I love that.
Little shit. Yeah. He is going to blow it up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind at all. And the reason for that is he was so smart in the moves that he made, and he was so ethical, and he was so clear that you can't help but do the right thing. He analyzed it. He asked so many mentors that he has, so many people he admires. He took the information he received. He laid the foundation, and he visualized, and then he opened himself up to the universe and said, bring it. I'm going to work for it. And look what was brought. And it really is. I mean, it's a matter of, I have a vision. I'm going to get there. But when he opened himself up completely, and you were a part of that, helping him know that he could take that jump, he could take that leap, he could do it. What we did in our family growing up was, I still do this with agents and everybody else, is tell me the worst case scenario. You jump off that ledge, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to go back to working for the guy that you're leaving. Well, big deal. So what? No harm, no foul. If you really, really want to jump at something and you look at that, what's the worst case scenario? And you helped him with that he is completely capable of doing what he's doing. And he's growing hourly. He doesn't even realize it, but he's growing hourly. When I will not talk to him for 2 or 3 days, and then I get him on the phone, Ronnie, my mentor, your grandfather,
Adopted grandpa.
He is. He's the adopted Yiddish grandpa. And he said to me, darling, your boy is going to come back with not only hair on his chest, but a really full-grown man by Christmas. And that's what this experience has done. 29 years old, and he's a baller.
Facts.
Yeah,
And he
he's a
just getting
baller.
started. That's the scary part.
I am going to be so overjoyed to see what the next step is, because he's already achieved this one. In my mind, I already visualize, I know where he's at with this one. I want to know what he's going to do in 5 years. That's going to be the fun part. Because this, again, is the foundation, again, for growth.
Okay, so if there was one piece of advice that you've given to Matt that you would want to share with the entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, what would it be?
Oh, it goes back to that never quit. Yeah. Fearlessness. Have no fear. Why would you have fear? Always, for me, like I said, take out that pad of paper, write it down, look at it, look at worst case scenario. And for God's sake, jump. Just jump.
Come on.
You know, just do it. What? So many people are so worried all the time.
Man.
Just do it.
My mom legitimately does not care what people think.
No.
But listen to her mindset. Listen to her framework. What's going to happen?
She
What's
does
the worst
not
thing that's going to
care.
happen?
No.
You know how it was so funny. It brings me back to when I was young and when I was always trying to get girls. And I would see some of my friends. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm so scared to go talk to them." I'm like, "Bro, what's the worst that's gonna happen? She's gonna say no. You
Right.
can't get her number."
Yeah. And you don't want her anyways. Yeah.
But it's funny because I'm sort of like you. What's the worst that's gonna happen? And I'm thinking, oh, that may have happened from when I was young, and I used to just try to get girls.
No fear.
No fear. I just didn't care.
No. And it's really not a matter of not caring, because I don't care about people that won't work as hard as I do and won't commit, won't commit the way we do in our family. If you're not going to at least meet me there, I really don't have anything for you.
You got some back door, Matt?
I want her to get into. She's being humble about some of the real estate success because we were talking other things, but we have. I mean, is being a realtor the most? It's the most like job that people have, right? It's the most popular job, being a realtor. It's probably more realtors than any other.
It is now,
profession.
but it never was. It really wasn't. It was twofold. It was men that did it because they had to feed their family and failed at other careers. It was women that did it as housewives and were married to the doctor or the dentist. That's what it used to be. Then women started to do it when they got divorced because they could do it, and then they were doing it well as a career. All of a sudden, the commercial realtors decided about 20 years ago that it was easier building a team in residential real estate and making money as a business in it as opposed to commercial real estate. And they started to take over our market. When I say our, I mean women, because I am a firm believer in that residential real estate is a woman's business. We make the decisions in the home. We run the home. We create a nest. That's just my personal belief. Doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of great male agents out there, but that's my belief. Men look at it as a business. God bless them. They build teams. I look at it as finding somebody a home and then taking care of the rest of their family. Because I still go back to that whole thing of if you have 10 clients and you concierge them and you take care of them, you will never starve. You will always have business. So I really, really run my business that way and always have, because I take care of people's grandkids now. That's
Two things. A lot of young women look up to you. So what would you say to young women that are thinking about getting into real estate? And then I have a follow-up to that.
The very first question I ask younger people is, do you have a source of income? Because this is a very difficult business and it messes with your mind. It's the only business that I'm aware of that I will write a $30,000 investment for a listing and I'm not getting paid. I don't have any money coming in on that. And if I don't perform, I'm out $30,000. I'm bailing out an agent right now on that kind of thing. So mentally, you have to be very, very strong and be able to have some money or something behind you to survive 6 months. If you're fortunate to have that, whether it's a partner, whether it's a family member, somebody that's going to stake you, then you just need to work. You need to shut out the noise, not listen to the news. Housing is shelter. Never forget that. Always understand that whether it's divorce, diapers, whatever, people need another house. They will always, always buy a home because it's shelter. After 9/11, we only paused in our market for 30 days. During COVID, I didn't miss one day of work, not one day. We paused in our market for 30 days, and I was out doing open houses right after that. And I had a great couple years. What we're dealing with now with the Middle East has scared a lot of people. Our market's very, very slow, at least in Arizona, and it's fear-induced. About 30 days, it'll start to pick up again. So for young people coming into this business, it's a great business, but you need to have somebody behind you financially or money behind you.
What was the follow-up, Matt?
The follow-up was for anybody that's bought a house sometimes you feel, I want to go into this, forget about buying a house. I feel like a secret sauce of yours, aside from the integrity and genuinely wanting to help your customers, is she's really good at tipping her clients post sale. We've talked about this a lot, you and I, in our businesses, is the, what do they call it? Like the post
purchase value add. We love it.
And I don't think that she learned this in a book. I think she genuinely wanted to help people. But talk about some of the things that you do for some of your clients.
It depends on the client. It depends on the price point. I mean, some people actually just want money. And what I mean by that is a reduction in commissions. And that just floats their boat. Other people like a certain piece of artwork. I don't have a budget when I do something. I have actually, I purchased a car for somebody. But it's small, not super, but yeah. I mean, it's just whatever works for them at the time. But I can tell you, it's not a $50 gift certificate.
It's not a bottle of wine. It's something thoughtful.
We don't do any of that. No, that's a no-no. But it seems to me this last couple years, it has been more about commissions and commission cutting than it has been about a thoughtful gift.
How do you reinvent yourself over the years being an agent?
Oh, I'm around a lot of really great people and really young people. And I have to be honest with you, Matthew and Mac have really had a lot of impact on that as well, because they won't allow me to not keep my game up here. Mm-hmm. I have to be able to communicate with people your age and younger. When we started Launch, there were 12 of us agents that all had a large book of business and got together and wanted to start a company that encouraged people that had been in the business to grow. Not new agents, but just people that have been in the business, but to grow and to collaborate and to refer back and forth and to have this huge brain trust so we could give back and we could help. And that's just been extraordinarily successful and fulfilling at the same time. They also challenge me to keep my creativity and curiosity, that's the word I'm looking for, up. I have to be curious on a daily basis. And so, we started with AI a year ago, and people sometimes are surprised at that. I'm like, oh, hell, I love it. I think it's fun. It doesn't scare me at all. So.
I love it. No.
So what you said, you started another company. Give us a flavor of what that is, CMN Associates.
So what happened is with Launch, the company was joint ventured on a 4-year period with Compass. So we are now a part of a national company that is 30,000 agents, 71 locations. Pretty big deal, right? And we are the only office in Arizona in the entire state. The co-founders, of which there are 7 of us now, were kind of displaced in a little bit because now we're part of a bigger company and we're still considered co-founders, but it's a different thing. Mm-hmm. The referral network in Compass, these agents do, my understanding is about 15% of their income in referral business. That's huge. Mm-hmm. I've worked for many, many companies and never once received one referral. Sotheby's, all of them, never one referral. So that intrigued me to have passive income that way just by communicating with people for both my clients and myself. So I started with 2 other co-founders and then 3 other agents, our own business within the business, and we're a mini Launch. So we started with the premise, unlike any other real estate team, what's mine is mine. So I'm not sharing with anybody. It's mine. But any of the referrals that come in from the private client network, of which we were blessed to be picked for the whole state of Arizona, we then will split in a 3-way. So it's a 2-tier business that I hope is very profitable.
So if you're a realtor and you have somebody in Beverly Hills that wants to buy a place in Scottsdale and you're not licensed in Arizona, who do you call? And that could goes both ways.
Mm-hmm. You call me, we pay you 25% of the commission.
I like that.
For doing nothing. Just
Literally.
for calling.
Give me a name. That's it.
I like it.
Yeah, but it's huge. But we hold it accountable because it's only a certain number of people within this certain group.
No, you can control the quality.
Yeah, well, that's the whole key to it. Yeah, that's the whole key.
All right, well, we're almost at an hour mark. Well, we actually are at an hour mark, but I don't want you to leave without asking this question. If you were to die tomorrow, what would you want to be remembered for? And what would you want to tell Matt?
Tomorrow, let me think.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I want to be remembered for is giving, giving more than taking. That's a really big thing to me. Mm-hmm. I want to leave behind that I gave more. And for Matthew, I want him to find happiness, find joy. You're going to find success. You already have. You've already found love. But I want you to find joy. I want you to get to a place in your life that you wake up every morning joyful. It's such a big word. You know, I mean, it's just everything. To be able to wake up happy and joyful and just know that you've done well.
Got me emotional, man.
I know. Well, that's why I had to ask that question, man, because I'm like,
You know I
listen.
love you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Matt, any departing words?
No, I just thank you for setting the standard, and
Yeah.
you got me a little
Facts.
choked up. So
Oh,
I love you. Thank you.
I didn't even have to grab his balls this time.
B. Davey, any last words, man?
No.
We out, baby. Interpop. Peace.
I never mess up the commas. You know I put that on my mama. Well, that's all we got for this episode of Inner Pump. One thing that would really help both of us and other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Also, make sure to check us out at innerpump.com on social media. And if you enjoyed this episode and received anything of value, please share this podcast with anyone you think might enjoy it. Until next time, we out, baby. Inner Pump. Peace.